Hey tribe, Shia here, your Tantra specialist, sharing with you today with 18 years experience doing Tantra sessions and coaching around relationships and sexuality and getting those Tantra techniques out there to enhance your lives. And today I'm going to talk about something kind of unusual because it is part of the field, which is, the whole relationship piece. And I want to say, I think we're probably all clueless to this at some point until we wake up and have enough maybe experiences and learn about it. There's a lot more, unfortunately, like personality disorder out there than I'd like to admit. And there's a little bit more narcissistic tendencies in people than I would like to admit to, and it kind of shocks me actually. I'm like, wow, this is obviously part of this interesting three-dimensional world that we live in, where there's this duality and almost seems like the ones with the narcissistic or personality disorders are here to help us, the rest of us, wake up to it and see it for what it is and, outgrow it. And it's almost, I know for me, it was almost felt like breaking out of the matrix of just recognizing it when it shows up and then knowing how to navigate it. So likely you have had an experience with someone who has a personality disorder or narcissistic tendencies. It might be a parent, it might have been a partner or a boss. I know that narcissistic tendencies do seem to run in corporations, and how it's sort of this patriarchy corporate culture that has become part of business, where they kind of I feel like they're sort of using their employees instead of creating enough of a win-win, and they'll just work you to death and then replace you. And it's you're just expected to work extra hours and meet all these deadlines, and it's just not very humanistic. So I'm talking about this because as a relationship coach, it's my job somewhat to have experiences with these things and be able to pass things on. It's also how my human design chart, for those of you who are aware of that system, it's part of my job on this planet to experience these things and pass on my knowledge to you so you don't have to go through these things, because I have experienced narcissism. I have experienced misogyny, and it's so funny. I actually kind of figured these things out on my own most of the time, thanks to YouTube, because there's certain characteristics that show up, and it's like, there's something not right here. And I just chalk it up to, gosh, choosing to be in this field, you have to have experiences to speak from, otherwise you're all talking from theory. And so, in my family growing up, I had a traditional family dynamic that did involve misogyny, that did involve narcissistic characteristics and severe neglect, and the whole, there was addiction involved, and there was gaslighting, and like the scapegoat phenomenon, the golden child phenomenon, all these things that are more common than I would like to admit. And obviously, as a spirit being, I'm strong enough that I chose to have parents that were challenging, and not just one, but both. So, that has been a rough go. And I'm just grateful that I have the ability to overcome it and see it for what it is. And I called it out a lot, and they didn't like it, of course. But anyway, I recently really put up some strong boundaries and don't have a lot of contact with my family for these reasons. It just doesn't make sense to keep connecting with people who continue to be in, narcissistic or whatever you want to call it. It's just not very satisfying or fun to be with people who are constantly triggering you and trying to get a rise out of you, constantly challenging you and invalidating you or whatever, however it shows up, in your dynamics. But I do have enough experience that it's very valuable for those of you who maybe are not aware of this, because unfortunately there's a lot of manipulation that happens in these dynamics. And it's really, I am so grateful that I know how to, I can almost see it a mile away now. I'm very aware when some of it can be so subtle. And if you don't know what to look for, you can just end up becoming a victim to it. So I know growing up, I was, pretty tight with my mom. My brother was tight with my dad. And I just didn't know any different. And it wasn't until I became an adult and noticed the patterns and was starting to call them out. And then just continually distancing myself, because it's just not fun to be around people like that. And recently just had such a big experience in a recent family reunion that I just was complete with dealing with it anymore. And it was so obvious in spades, the narcissistic behavior that was happening and the gaslighting and stuff, that I just was amazed, like watching it in action and just being like, oh my God, this is bad, really bad. And, if someone just can't seem to validate you for what you say and what you do, and can't seem to support you, and because that's part of that experience, then it's time to move on. And I felt like I kind of did break out of a matrix of, there's a certain, I think, graduation that we all go through, and almost like an initiation. A lot of us go through the initiation of divorce, and hopefully we gain and learn from that. And a lot of us, I found in a recent, I'm in a Course in Miracles group and I'm in 2 groups a week actually of that, and I'm getting so much out of it. And I was surprised a lot of these are older people than myself that are in this class. And it does seem like it's an initiation where they've all gone through being married to a narcissist, or having, one in their or more in their family, and learning how to deal with it, and, getting set free. And it was so raw and fresh for me right now, just kind of putting a stop to it, because I don't think I was ready to see that my main caretaker was narcissistic. It takes some courage. It's a hard pill to swallow. Like, wow, my own parent is narcissistic, and and now I've had all these memories arise from childhood that just makes me go, wow, that was really off, and what was she thinking, and wow, that was really weird, and that just wasn't right. And so a lot of those memories are coming up and kind of purging right now. But it's really good to know these things. I know one of the first books I was guided to read, because a counselor pointed it out to me, actually when I had a relationship that there was just some weird behavior, and they pointed out that the person was misogynistic. And there's a book called Men Who Hate Women and the Women Who Love Them that outlines it completely. And it's really just good, men and women, to be aware of narcissistic qualities. And I find with all the personality disorders that they're all just slightly different from each other, but they're just so similar in a way too. A general thing that I've noticed among them is that there's this flip that happens, almost like the person has 2 personalities, like their good personality or their social mask personality, and then their like evil twin that lives inside and comes out sometimes. And as soon as they feel like they've got you, like you're living with them, or you're dependent on them, or you're finally married, then they flip on you and become this evil version of themselves. And it's like, what the hell happened? And so they're very good at acting. That's something that really surprised me. And they tend to lie a lot too, which was interesting for me to learn. Um, and they're constantly managing your reality for you to believe what they're trying to feed you, which is all in their favor, really. And it's so, anyway, if you feel like something's off in your relationship, whether it's with a boss or a parent or a partner, because there is this flip that happens and almost makes you feel like you're constantly on guard or walking on eggshells, or you never know when you're going to get, triggered constantly with them. It's really good to get savvy about this stuff, because now I feel like I have enough experience that I almost kind of enjoy calling it out, but that's the last thing that narcissist wants. And it's kind of like playing with fire. So it's almost better just to remove yourself. Anyway, something to think about, because, and of course, if you need counseling around this, I can certainly, you can reach out to me and we can, I'm available by phone or by video, like I said, since most people don't live necessarily in Sarasota, Florida. And you can also fly in as well. I've had people do that to get, especially the hands-on part of the techniques and so forth, to upgrade your love life. And so anyway, I hope that's helpful, because I know I was so unaware of this and was a victim to it for years. And I think most of us are, frankly, and we just don't even know it. And then that's why we need to get really in touch with, wow, how do I feel after I'm spending time with that person? If it just doesn't feel good, you're going to have to find a way to kind of ease out of there. And so I activate that we all become savvy to this so that we can have the most fulfilling, loving, supportive relationships we're capable of.